The Nautical Mile is Southwest Florida's marine connection. In this free monthly magazine, you'll find information on Southwest Florida's fishing tournaments, local events, waterfront dining, boat ramps and boat rentals, moons and tides, and local shipwrecks. Every month, thousands of people read up on our 22 local riders. The Nautical Mile is your one-stop connection to Southwest Florida's marine community. Get yours quick, because they're going fast.
Look at that. They just keep coming. Wow. All right. Well, here we are at Punta Gorda Isles Fishing Club. Their new building that they got after the hurricane struck. Nice turnout for tonight's seminar. We'll talk a little bit about the Calusa rig and backwater fishing with John and I. This is the Punta Gorda Isles Fishing Club. They got 300 members. They usually have about 75 to 100 folks show up at each gathering. And I'm going to have about 30 minutes to speak tonight. We'll introduce them to the Calusa rig and our backwater fishing excursions that we have. All right.
My name is Craig Thames, and I've been living in Florida my entire life. I was born and raised in Orlando as a basketball. Yeah, I'll narrate this to you folks. This is John Pano and I. We do our filming from the doghouse. Okay? What this is here, this is me videotaping one of my redfish. And what John and I do is, lately, we're filming this in an essence of, it's not a cookie cutter television show. You'll be able to access on YouTube and the website that we're building that you can see these videos. It's going to be all local fishing. Anywhere and everywhere that we fish here in the area, we're actually going to videotape and show these folks, hey, we're actually catching the fish that we're telling you we're catching. As you can see, Jim is sitting there at about 6 to 8 inches of water with a nice 30 to 31 inch red, and he caught that on an artificial, that was a DOA actually that he was using. And this is in a small bay, just behind Back Bay, on the north tip of Pine Island, that you can't get to unless you have a kayak. There's a small slot, but it stops you, and that goes all the way back. And that flat is about 200 yards long until it drops down to about a 20-foot hole in the back of that bay. And in that hole, it holds fish, but you can't get to it unless you wade fish it or you get to it in a kayak. So we drive by a lot of areas that we should actually be fishing. One of the things my dad used to tell me when we do bass tournaments, he's like, watch all these yahoos. I'm like, okay. He's like, every single one of them are going to get on the throttle and they're going to blast out of here. I'm like, yeah. He's like, we're going to go right over there and fish. I'm like, okay. He's like, think about it. Everybody gets in a boat, they want to go fast. They want to get to that hole, and they drive right past their fish. He's like, we're going to go over here and fish. And we place every single time. But same thing here. There's so many accessible areas to fish that we kind of neglect them when we go on the boat or we just go to a dock. I swore I wouldn't get in a boat. I actually cursed kayak fishing for 2 weeks. That's because my shoulders and my back and my hips weren't used to it. Now it is, and I feel great, and it's not a problem. I can get that kayak up on the plane and paddle all day long and not even worry about it. It's great exercise, it really is. Here's John. He's got a red hooked up. I'm trying to shoot this from across the bay. This was just last week, actually. I remember we had that little cold front blow through. We were out there. But the water was warm. And if you'll notice how close to the edge John is, okay, these redfish will lay up on the edges, the snook will lay on the edges, as well as in the middle of the flats, and we'll seek out our potholes. Those of you that have towers on your boats or raised up a pulling platform, you can see the potholes, and you know to fish those potholes in the outer edges and such. John's got 20-pound test mono with a 40-pound test leader. He had his drag cranked down. This red was having nothing doing. Totally working his drag the whole time. See the pothole there? He sight fished it right off of that pothole. So fish your potholes. You approach your flats, those potholes are holding fish. That fish is probably sitting right on the outside edge and or right close to it, waiting for a bait to swim by it, ready to ambush what he can get. John was throwing jerkbaits the whole time, and I was throwing a top water. So whichever one you like to fish with, what kind of water you've got to fish, depending on how deep it is, you can switch up. Each one of them are as effective as the other. And another thing too, once you start getting into your meteorology and your astronomy and figuring out what the tides are doing, what the ocean's doing, what your weather is doing, it doesn't matter what you have in your tackle box. Okay? I don't care if it's a wooden stick with a hook on it. If it's a beer can with a treble hook on it, they're going to hit it. Bottom line. Okay?
Second. Really? A 40-inch snook locks onto him and just destroys it. There he is!
Ah! Want to get that net?
Oh, shit! He's huge.
Oh my God, look at the size of him.
Come on, baby! Fantastic. Snook fishing at its finest, folks. John, we were here, what, 10 minutes?
Yeah. Let that big bad boy go.
Easy, 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 easy. Come on, come on. There you go.
Yeah! Oh, good job.
Oh. Thank you. That's tables.
There you go. Beautiful fish. Isn't that sweet? Boy. Don't lose your boat. Beautiful morning at Bert's Bar and Grill here in Matlacha. The Snook Cowboys about to speak to the Kiwanis Club. He asked me to come down and assist him a little bit. So I did.
To a high to a low. The lulls that you have in tides, when the tide comes in halfway and planes out, on that first little rut of a hill, they'll have a tendency to feed because the water slows down. They're like, okay, opportunity. Once the water picks back up, they're going to wait for that to peak out. This happened yesterday. We had a long tide yesterday. From 7 to 10, it was tabled out. From 10 to 4, straight up. And at 2:30, I nailed that snook an hour and a half before the high tide at Localia Pier. So 2 hours before and 2 hours after any tide, and try to associate that with the barometric change. In the summertime, we have one every single day. The sea breezes collide, we have a barometer change. Okay.
Are you ready to start your adventure?
Yeah!
Your adventure begins at Backwater Outfitters on Cape Coral Parkway near the bridge.